listening to Into the Arena, a Hunger Games podcast sparking the fandom one episode at a time, with your hosts, Holly and Emily. Special thanks for music by Sam Cushion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second episode of Into the Arena. I'm Emily.
And I'm Holly.
And we're so happy that you're tuned in for our second episode. Just a couple of updates. We wanted to say thank you so much really quick to Sam Cushion, who composed the intro music. When we recorded our first episode, we didn't have our logo together or the intro music, or we figured a lot of stuff out between recording episode 1 and this episode. So thank you so much to Sam. We also set up our social media accounts. So we are at Into the Arena Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube as well. So feel free to follow us there. Our episode today is going to be about Myers Briggs and putting Hunger Games characters into the types that we think they are. But before we get started, I think we have a little pre-game entertainment. Holly, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, we are going to be playing Would You Rather Hunger Games edition. So Emily and I spent the last few days putting together just 3 Would You Rather questions for each other. And we're just going to surprise each other and see which ones we pick. Maybe they're interesting, maybe they're not. I guess we'll find out. But yeah.
I think they'll be fun.
So I think they'll be fun. Like, I think mine are okay, but I don't know. Let's see. Awesome. All right. So do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
Sure. I will start with my first one.
So nervous.
So, Holly, would you rather have to be a tribute or an AVOX?
I think right away, I would say a tribute, because I am someone who I don't know how I would deal with losing my voice, to be honest with you. But then at the same time, I'm thinking, because I know I could not win the Hunger Games. I've thought about this way too often. Yeah, I've put myself into the situation before and been like, in my mind, do you think that you could do it? And I could not do it. I mean, I did karate for years and I had a hard time like punching people. So I know I could not be a tribute. But I guess I would get like some good food beforehand. So like I'll go with my gut and say I'll be a tribute. It'll be short-lived. I'll be glamorous for a few days.
So you'd rather be a tribute and die than be an AVOX forever.
Because at least, I mean, I could go down like Peta, or I'd have a chance of winning. Maybe I would just hide away. You know, people have done that, so pull that one.
It's true.
So there's at least a chance, but being an AVOX, I couldn't stand with not being able to talk, or also not like working underground or something like that. I could not do because I'm
that's
so
true.
claustrophobic. Yeah, I think I would want to do the tribute life, be a little glamorous, have a chance at survival, and not be forced into situations where I'm underground all the time. So
okay, that's reasonable.
Yeah, going into it, which one would you have picked?
Oh, I'd be an AVOX. I have no trouble not talking and no trouble being underground, so I choose life.
There we go. Sweet, awesome. Okay, here's my question for you, Emily.
Okay.
Would you rather be in an alliance with Peta or Finnick if you were in the games?
Finnick.
Why?
Because he's so skilled.
I mean, Peta kind of is.
Yeah. I think I would be more safe with Finnick. So, But then again, I don't know, like Finnick would maybe be more likely to turn on you, I think, than Peta. So I don't know. I think I'd be safer with Finnick. I think he could protect me better. So I don't know what in the world I would bring to the table. Nothing.
You're smart. You're a very like smart person.
Space, maybe.
Yeah,
but I'd pick Finnick.
Okay. Yeah, I would have picked Peta, and I think I would have picked him because
we all know you.
I love Peta
because you just love Peta. Yeah.
just some time with him. I'll go in as a tribute and have some time with Peta. It'll be nice. A nice way to go.
But wait, so does that mean that I'm against Peta? Like, is Peta also in the games? Because I don't think I could.
Yes, I feel like that'd be really
No.
interesting.
No.
And you can't be in an alliance with both. Like, they're on two opposite ends, and they both offered you because they think you're so lovely. They both want to be in an alliance with you. So you have to pick one. And I would
That's
pick
really
Peta.
hard.
But
I'd still pick Finnick.
even with Finnick, I don't know. Like you said, he would likely turn on you. I mean, like the fact that Peta wouldn't turn on me, I don't know. That would also make me feel really guilty. So I'd have a hard time going home if it came down to the two of us. We'll pull a nightlock situation, I guess. But
that doesn't
would've
work
been
more than once.
Oh, well, he's back in it for a third time, so I'm pretty sure anything will work. But awesome.
Okay. My second one is, would you rather, so you're a tribute in the Hunger Games, would you rather get a training score of 1 or 12?
I think 12. And I know it's a curse to get a 12, but I
Mhm.
think it would come like as an advantage for me because I'm a really small person. I'm only like 5'6" and just a petite girl overall. And so I think for me to be getting such a high score, yeah, they would be threatened by it, but then that would give me sponsors. And then my tactic of hiding away for a very long time would come to my advantage because I'd be getting gifts from sponsors and they'd be kind of turned my way at least. So I feel like it would give me a chance to show them that I'm more than just a small little blonde haired girl. What
I
about
think
you?
that makes sense. Yeah, I think I'd rather, well, it's hard. I mean, if I got a low score, then the other tributes might just ignore me. And so I think the only way that I could win the games is to just, do the run and hide method.
That's
So I
true.
think I'd
Yeah,
have
me
to
too.
be like no threat. And
Yeah.
hopefully like my resourcefulness would get me to find food and water and the things that I need just to like survive and make it through to the end. I don't want all the attention of having a 12. So at first I thought I'd say 12, but I think a low score is better in my case.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not that resourceful though, so I feel like I would need as much help as I could get from the outside.
No, that makes sense.
Because I used to, I don't know about you, but I read them when I was young, so I would go outside and like try to scavenge food and everything, and I could not. So I don't
I
know if I
actually
could.
took a class in college where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be like Katniss Everdeen on outdoor wilderness survival. It was
Oh,
like the
sweet.
coolest class that I took in college, and I feel like I learned knot tying. It was like I'm like Finnick O'Dare right now. Like we went out and like camped in the wilderness. We had to build our own shelter, like build fire, use a
Oh my
compass, and like
gosh.
navigate. So I feel like
What
I have
kind of,
some skills.
I'm really curious, what kind of class was that? Like for what subject?
Like what was the major that I went
Yeah.
toward?
Yeah.
Like parks and recreation management.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
My
it
my
was
school is not
fun.
like that. I wish I did that in college. Okay,
I took so many
next.
random electives.
Oh, sorry. Really? Oh, yeah, mine were all like media related. So I was mostly indoor in labs doing a bunch of stuff like that. So I wish I would have been able to go camping. I've never been camping a day in my life. So that's why I would need
What?
some capital help. I know.
The only camping I've done, actually, though, it was for this class and it was really intense. I've never done like the easy version. Like we had no tent, we had nothing. We had to like build ladders, like
It was
build our
like
own
Survivor.
shelter. Yes, it was.
That's so cool. I'm really jealous because at least you have something, and not having like a tent or anything and being put into that situation makes you kind of feel like you're in the Hunger Games, except
Yes,
hopefully you didn't kill
maybe I could
anyone.
survive.
Okay, next one, I guess for you. This is one, so it's kind of, let me put you in the situation.
Okay.
You are towards the end of Mockingjay, okay? And you know that the Capitol is going down, okay?
I'm
So
there. I'm there.
in this scenario, would you rather be related, either a daughter or a granddaughter, to Snow or Coin? This is before they're both dead.
Oh, wow. I would say Coin because I think there'd be less of a long-term stigma being related to Coin because she was in power for such a short time than President Snow. I don't want to be associated with him at all.
Yeah. I think I would say the same. I just thought it was interesting to think about the repercussions of their actions and whatever, if his granddaughter did survive post-war, was she in trouble? How did people view her? And how did the Capitol interact with like just other Pan Am citizens after?
Yeah, I wonder if they ever found out about the possible Hunger Games idea for Capitol children. There's just so much to unpack there about what could have happened in the future.
Yeah, and after reading Ballad, just seeing how much hatred there was after the Dark Days and between the Capitol citizens and everyone else, I thought that was a really fascinating part of Ballad. So
yeah, because that same thing probably happened in the reverse. Hopefully didn't lead to tensions being so high that things turned ugly again, but
yeah, definitely. Sweet.
So my last one is kind of fun. So would you rather get to be in charge of casting a Hunger Games reboot?
Okay.
Or would you rather want to play any character of your choice in that reboot?
Right away, I'm like, I want to kiss Peta. So she is Katniss. But I think I would
always
pick...
Peta with you.
I know. I would pick the casting of my choice because I don't think I could stand to watch myself in a series. I've always thought about what actors think watching themselves. And so I think it would ruin it for me rewatching it. So I think I would definitely want to cast people and then it would give me all the power.
It would, but you wouldn't have to watch it. Lots of actors
But I'd
don't
want to
watch their
watch it.
movies. Okay, yeah.
So that's why I'd pick that one. What about you?
Oh, I'd want to be in the movie. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is Katniss or?
Madge? I don't know. I'm like, who do I feel like she's the only character I might look like. Or maybe if it's a few years in the future, Effie. I would love to be Effie. If I could just be Elizabeth Banks's role, wear all those cool costumes. That's what I want.
That would be so cool. We're gonna make that happen somehow. Like you're gonna have to cosplay one
I
episode.
already cosplay, yeah.
You bring it back out.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I should do
That'd
that.
be cool.
Yeah, I'm just selfish. So.
And I guess like it would be fun since like Ballad is coming out to be Lucy Gray. I feel like that'd be a really fun role to play. So maybe that would be something
I thought you
about.
would maybe. Well, I said Hunger Games reboot. I almost said Ballad, but I think you would be a good Lucy Gray.
Oh, thanks. Maybe I'll cosplay her someday. Because I don't even
in
know
that rainbow outfit.
Yeah. But I guess that would be kind of fun. I think I might do that. If it was Ballad, then I would do me cast as Lucy. And then if it was the Hunger Games, I couldn't stand to watch myself as any of the characters. So I think I would just cast them myself. But okay, final question. Would you so you died in the 74th Hunger Games. I'm sorry.
Oh,
but
no.
you're a dead tribute, okay? And it has come down to Marvel and Glimmer. Of the two, which one would you rather have be the victor and why? Like, would you rather have?
This is very reminiscent, I feel like, of our FMK from last week, where you picked to marry Marvel, and I was just outraged. I could not pick Marvel because he killed Rue, so it has to be Glimmer.
See, when I was putting together the question, I wanted to put two very awful people together, and I thought about doing Cato because Cato's awful. But then at the same time, at the end of the Hunger Games, he realizes how messed up the whole situation is. So that was why I changed it. I guess, would you prefer Glimmer or Clove?
I think I'd pick Clove,
Hmm.
which I don't really like Clove. Well, I like her in the movies a lot. I think
Yeah.
Isabel Furman did a really
Yes.
good job as Clove, so I guess that's the reason that I would pick Clove. I like her like feisty personality.
Hmm.
So I think she fought hard. She
Yeah.
deserves to win. Glimmer doesn't deserve it.
She's so annoying and
Fooling around with
awful.
that bow and arrow.
I
Like she knows how
know.
it works.
Put that down.
Clove has skill, so
Exactly. I agree. I would pick Clove too. And for the first part, I think I'd pick Glimmer too. So, two
did you
awful.
see on Twitter the same week that we were recording the first episode, Marvel, like, Jack Quaid got on Twitter and apologized for his character for killing Rue?
What? No, I don't. I'm not on Twitter.
We were talking about Marvel and how you would marry him in FMK,
How I
and you
love
were
Jack
like,
Quaid.
yeah, you were like, oh my gosh, yeah, but he'll grow, he'll mature, he'll change. And so it was funny that Jack Quaid posted something about that and being
Okay,
sorry for it.
that makes me so happy
I
because
know.
I was right. I texted him, and that's why he tweeted that.
We had a little chat. He's
Yeah.
realized the error of his ways, and he's good
Oh
now.
my gosh. That made my day. I love that. I think that's all the would you rather we had. So that was a little
That was
intro.
fun.
Yeah, I think we're going to do something like this every week where we just kind of ease into things and yeah, just have some fun with some Hunger Games characters.
Okay, should we get into the bread and butter, no pun intended, of our episode?
Yes, I'm really excited for it.
Okay, so we're going to be going through a list of, I think we have 16 characters, and putting them into the Myers Briggs personality type that we think they are. I am kind of obsessed with Myers Briggs. Holly, I don't know about you, but I'm one of those people that is always like, when I meet someone new, trying to figure out what their Myers Briggs is, and I pride myself on getting it correct when I finally make them take the test.
That's so funny. Yeah, I do the same thing, whether it's a friend or somebody I'm like interested in dating. Before I date anyone, I'm like, you need to take this
Right?
test. Like, I need to get to know
I
who
see
you
if we're
are.
compatible.
I do that. I do love languages too. Those are my two tests I give to all friends, anyone that I meet. So, and I base a lot, it's really awful of me when I get to know someone's personality type, then I base a lot of my like initial assumptions off of them, which I don't think is a great thing. But I mean, I do it for myself. And when I do something and reflect on the action, I go, oh, well, I guess it's what I would fall under. So I'm like that way with star signs too. So yeah.
Yeah. I haven't gotten into that so much, but well, because I'm a Gemini and I feel like I don't fit being a Gemini at all. Like every
Yeah.
time I read stuff about it, I'm like, that's not me.
Yeah. Well, everyone has like a really bad connotation, like a negative connotation of Geminis. So, and people,
Wait,
I'm a
really?
Scorpio. People have a really bad, yeah, of Scorpios. But see, I fall on the cusp of a Scorpio and a Sagittarius because my birthday is like the day after the Scorpio day ends and the Sagittarius begins. So everyone is always like, "Oh, you're such a Sagittarius." And Sagittarius is very outgoing and very spontaneous, and I'm the opposite. So that never connected with me. So I identify as a Scorpio because it's more so who I am. And I was born 3 hours after the Scorpio time ends in the stars. So yeah, but I love star signs. We should do star signs. I'll teach you about them. We can
Okay,
do
you'll
like
have
Hunger
to
Games
teach me a
characters.
lot because, well, I don't know if I believe in it because I
Mhm.
don't feel like I associate with being a Gemini at all, and I don't think I'm on the cusp of anything.
Yeah.
So, aren't Gemini supposed to be like the life of the party and I don't know, like big personalities?
I think of like Gatsby when I think of a Gemini, like somebody who's like really like on the outside, woohoo, party, party, and then on the inside crying and really depressed and then I guess like showing really close people depression because they're very emotional people. So
Is this
yeah,
me?
you don't come off like that. No, you really don't.
Okay, so I thought we should go over a little bit about what the different letters in the sequence mean in case anyone's like not super familiar or even a refresher for ourselves. The first contrasting letters in the sequence are I and E, introversion versus extroversion. So really that's a lot about where you get your energy from. Introverts prefer to be alone to recharge. Not that they don't like being with other people or in groups, but that's just what they need to like recharge their batteries, I guess. Extroverts prefer group activities. That's where they get their energy. They love social interaction. They can be quiet and alone, but they really need to have that interaction with people. So that's the I versus E.
And then the next alternating letters is S for sensing and then N for intuition, which comes after the I in intuition. Sensing is more so individuals who are more observant. They often rely more on like the five senses. They're practical, pragmatic, and down to earth. And then they have strong habits and focus on what has happened or has already happened. So I think of it as more like physical sensing, whereas intuition is more imaginative, open-minded, and curious. They look for patterns a lot more and beyond, like they don't really rely on the five senses as much. It's more like basing it, I think, more on your gut. And then they prefer novelty over stability and focus on hidden meanings and future possibilities. So I think of them more like feeling more, I guess, and using what's past the five senses to understand a situation.
So the next one is thinking versus feeling. So thinking individuals, they are more objective and rational. They prioritize logic over their emotions. They tend to repress their feelings and they don't show them outwardly as much. And they think that efficiency is more important than cooperation and the feelings of other people. Feeling, or the F letter, is people who are more sensitive, emotionally expressive. So you'll tend to see that outwardly. They're more empathetic and they value social harmony and cooperation.
And then the final two is P for perceiving and J for judging. This is based off of how people want their lifestyle to kind of be. So oftentimes judging, it's not like they're judging people, but it's more they prefer a structured lifestyle, or they're more decisive, excuse me, and are highly organized, and they like predictability and closure. Whereas perceiving people are very different. They're good at improvising and spotting opportunities, and they tend to be more flexible and open with their scheduling and organization. Those are, I guess, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different letters and their meanings. And yeah.
So why don't we talk a little bit about, since we love personality typing so much, what our personality types are. Do you want to share yours, Holly?
Yes, I will go ahead. I had to ask you before you came on.
We talked about it. We talked about it before, and I was like, "Oh, that's so interesting that you're, this type." And then she didn't remember, and I did. It's the S in me.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out, but we are pretty much opposites. So I thought that was really fascinating.
Fascinating, yeah.
But I am an INFP, and that is known as the mediator. So most of the people who fall under that personality type, like famous people, are like William Shakespeare, very depressed writers. And so I focus a lot more. I'm a pretty easygoing person. I'm very introverted. I'm one of the most introverted people you'll ever meet. I focus a lot more on gut feelings and spontaneity. I feel like I can be spontaneous, but I am someone who has to like feel a situation, and I'm so imaginative. I think that's one of my biggest qualities is, and I think Emily's realized that working with me, is just like having these big ideas, and then she's someone who's like, okay, how do we make this happen? So I feel like it's a good pairing that we have. But yeah, I definitely work on perceiving a lot of individuals and patterns I see. And I'm much more just reading signs and situations more so than relying on like a structure. I'm more so just going along in my own head. It makes sense. But yeah, I'm an INFP. So
that's so cool. It's like all of the qualities that I admire. I mean, I like that we're both introverts. I think that's that's what helps us to like kind of understand each other and like work well together.
Yeah.
But we're total opposites in the other letters. So I'm an ISTJ. So I'm all about the structure
Hmm.
and the specific like details and in the weeds of like how to make things happen exactly, like even with our podcast, exactly the outline and what we're going to do, and organization. And I mean, I guess some of the more qualities are being pretty blunt, honest, very loyal, straightforward, very like dependable, responsible. It all sounds very boring, but
See, it's
but
all the
I
qualities
like
that I
being an
need.
ISTJ. So
Yeah. See, I'm somebody who just does not focus on step by step. I'm someone who has an idea. I mean, I was like, girl, let's do a podcast, and you're the one keeping me in check, making sure that we do every step. I'm like, let's just go with it. Let's keep going.
yeah, I am not
Um,
a big idea person. I'm like, someone else come up with the idea, come up with the creativity, and then I'll like make it happen and like focus on the details and like make sure everything's perfect.
yes. Well, there you go. It's a good quality, and we balance each other well. So this is gonna be fun. It was meant to be.
I actually
Awesome.
used to be, I don't know if personality types can change or if it's more like when you're a kid, things just like aren't totally set in stone. But it used to be an INTJ, I think, when I was younger. So that's like
Oh.
the N versus S. I'm much more practical now than I used to be. I think I used to be more of an abstract thinker, but now, no,
Yeah, that's
not at
interesting because
all.
I think they are supposed to change. I know that like I've had friends take it and theirs have changed over time. I've taken it and sometimes like a letter will switch, but when I consistently take the quiz, because I take it once every few months, it comes back to INFP. So I feel like it can change.
Yeah, maybe
Plus it
it's like
changes with wisdom.
situational, like if you're going through something, or I
Mhm.
think so. Just moving on to the actual Hunger Games characters, it was hard to, some of these characters, they've been through so much. And I tried to think about it from a perspective of, okay, well, if the world was more ideal and, you know, they weren't so repressed, like, and didn't have these awful things happen to them. And some of the characters are going through like serious PTSD and like that changes them, like Peta, especially,
Yeah.
you know, what would their personality type truly be when they're their authentic self? So I tried to think about it that way, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's interesting because I thought about it in a different way. I did have a hard time, like with Finnick. He like we'll talk about was someone I had a hard time like making the letters fit. Because I looked at them as a sort of like generic feeling. Like I looked at PETA pre hijacking and then post hijacking. I avoided like him being hijacked, and characters like change over the course of the books like you said, and so for me I also had a hard time pinning exactly what point. I just generalized who they are overall. So
Yeah, Finnick is so hard. I have a couple written down for him, but we'll
yeah,
get to that.
I tried to settle on them, but okay, I feel like we should start with Katniss. That's the first on our
Yeah,
list. And just so everyone knows, we didn't do this together, so our homework was to work on this ourselves. So that's why we're just gonna like compare notes and see what we each
if
thought.
we agree or not. Hopefully, I don't know. It'll be interesting if we don't. So,
Yeah,
what did you have for Katniss?
I had two for Katniss. I had ISTJ and ISTP. So she's definitely an introvert. I feel like we'll both agree on that one.
Yeah,
But
for
let me
sure.
know what letters did you put?
So I had ISTJ. I have a feeling since we both did ISTJ, we'll probably come to an agreement on that. But my second one was ISFJ. So for me, it was whether she's a T or an F. So a thinker or a feeler, which I think
Okay.
it's probably ISTJ, but there were some reasons that I don't know, I couldn't get that F out of my mind. So your difference was J or P.
Yes, I thought that she does prefer, like, at the beginning of the series, she definitely is more of a J, because Gail was always the big rebel and pushing her to think outside of the box, and while she did, and she did at an early age, she didn't really understand what was going on. I think that she, wanted the structure at first, and then you definitely see that more in Catching Fire when she's trying to maintain things with Peta and make sure that they have their facade going on. But then I also thought that she was somebody who perceives a lot because she focuses a lot on her gut feelings too. And I think she starts to do that, like it's kind of interwoven. There's points where she does try and perceive things for herself and try to break free from that structure that she's being pulled to. But I
Mm,
think on like the original starting Katniss would be a J. And then it would kind of in between there's sections where we see her have that perceiving aspect of her character.
I can see that. Yeah, she grows so much from just being like very unchangeable, and her personality when she meets people and interacts with people for the first time, she's very, it's like my way or the highway. Like she doesn't really
Mhm.
change her opinions. But by the end, I think she's a lot more open-minded and has grown a lot. So I can see the J at the beginning and the P at the end.
Yeah. And then you changed the F, which looking at my notes, I feel like that does kind of make sense, but I'd love to hear why you put that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about the F just because throughout the series, whenever we see her do something very significant, it's always motivated by her emotions. I
Mhm.
mean, like when she comforts Rue and like, does the flowers around her in the arena, does the district symbol, um, when she is saving people trying to save people at the hospital. It's just always these emotional moments that she acts on. But
Mhm.
I think ultimately she doesn't express the feelings enough and consistently to, it's only when it's like a really heightened situation that's not like her baseline is to express her feelings all the time. So I think T is probably the better choice.
See, and then I kind of like your argument for ISFJ because like I after I organized all my individual characters, I looked up the name of them. Like my INFP is like the mediator. Hers, if you were to put it ISFJ, it would be the protector. So somebody who's a caretaker, loyal to traditions and institutions. I feel like she is a caretaker because that's her goal is to protect Prim and protect the people that she
Mm-hmm.
loves.
I have
I feel like
another
that's kind of
point
cool.
about that, but it involves
Yeah.
talking about another character, so
Let's
I don't
if
know.
you want to go into it.
So maybe we can skip down to Prim
Yeah, let's do
because
that.
for Prim, I put her as an ISFJ, which I thought was super interesting because what I was debating on Katniss was whether she was possibly an ISFJ. So I made all these connections between different characters at the end of this, like looking at who had what letters in common
Hmm.
or who had, I thought, the same type, just connections between characters that I had never made before thinking about this. So I think it makes sense that the one that I'm debating is maybe one for Katniss, or the secondary one is the same type as Prim because they're family and they
Hmm.
influence each other so much. But then I also don't know that I want to make Katniss and Prim the same Myers Briggs type because they're not the same. So I think that's
Yeah.
also why I was like, okay, Katniss at her kind of best moments is an ISFJ, but her normal state is, I think, ISTJ.
Yeah. I feel like we can agree on that. That's interesting about Prim because for Prim, we only had two letters that were the same. For Prim, I put ESFP. Um,
Oh, you think she's an extrovert?
I think she's an extrovert. I think that she would be that person at school who she always talks about how she's more lovable than Katniss. How everyone gets along with her so well, and she is a healer. So I just always perceived her as the sister that everyone really liked in person and in District 12 really got along with. And so I thought that she drew more of her energy from helping other people and physically being with other people. And I didn't really see that obviously with Katniss. So I put her as an extrovert. So,
Wait, what was the
and then
full?
it was ESFP. So then I guess we changed the P and the J. I felt like she is very structured, but I feel like she perceives people because I think about her talks with Katniss in District 13, where she always gives Katniss the answers that are felt. And I feel like she picks up on the patterns and the gut feeling in the situation. That's just kind of what I saw her as, which is
Isn't
completely
that
different from
also
Katniss.
because I had as the primary ISFJ for Prim, but I also wasn't totally sure about Prim, and the second one that I put was INFJ. So I was questioning the
Ooh.
N and the N and the S.
Yeah.
I kind of think she's a bit of like an idealist, like her like hope for the future and wanting things to change and really believing that they can. I thought was very, very N. So I
See,
don't know.
I
Prim,
feel like she's an S. I strongly think she's an S because she's very like it talks about how they're so observant and they use the information around them. So I think that kind of balances her extroverted side to pick up on these signs of different people and follow this structure. So that's kind of why I pinned her that way because like I said again, she gave Katniss all those answers Katniss was unable to pick up on. So that's I felt like she's a very
but
cunning
Katniss is
person.
also an S,
Yeah.
but I guess in a different way. Like
I feel like
maybe
she's near like she has her goggles on and Katniss sees only what she wants to see. Because she has such big goals to protect her sister, to protect Peta. So anything outside those lenses, she refuses to see. Whereas I think Prim is able to take everything into account.
I also think Prim is probably more an S as it relates to people, whereas Katniss, her S is more like the world and her environment, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like what they're
Yeah.
good at observing and sensing.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. That's interesting about the Prim.
Yeah, Prim, I mean, she's so young in the
Mhm.
books as well. And kind of like, I don't know, thinking about how my type changed, she's still really figuring out exactly who she is at the age she is in the books. And I think things are still always in flux. So maybe that's why we don't come to exactly a perfect, we had so many different options for
Yeah,
her.
definitely. I guess going back to number 2 that we talked about or wrote about, what did you have for Peta?
I'm interested if we have the same thing
Yeah.
for this. I did ENFP.
And that's confirmed what his
Okay,
actual
I didn't look it up,
personality
so
type is. I just know because I told you this, but my sister is the exact same as me. I think I'm an INFP. Yeah, I always forget. And then we just switched to the E because she's an extrovert. So she was the same personality type as he was.
so you're the same personality type as PETA, except being an introvert.
Yeah, which is kind of weird. It's meant to
I
be,
love
guys.
that for
We're
you.
reiterating it.
You guys would balance each other out so well.
I know. It's a match made in heaven. We're waiting for it to happen. So I'll let you know when it does.
Wait, so that means that Katniss, if she's an ISTJ and PETA is an ENFP, are complete opposites.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
I think yeah, because she always was opposite of him character wise
Right, that's
in the
why she
first book.
chose him. I mean, I
Yeah.
think a big reason why she chose him is
Yeah.
because she needed all those things that she didn't have within herself, and Gale was too similar to her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess we'll get to Gale's. I haven't really looked how different Katniss and Gale are in terms of the Myers Briggs, but the things that you
Yeah,
learn when you start looking
really
and
deep.
comparing different characters in their Myers Briggs.
Oh, that makes my heart so happy.
They're complete opposites.
It's gonna work
Perfect.
out though. I guess, and then the next one on our list is Mr. Gale. I put him as the exact same as I did Katniss. I had an ISTJ, and I wasn't like when I did it, I went through our whole list of characters and I went, are they introvert or extrovert? And I would do that for each letter. So I wasn't copying based off of them completely, but it just the letters ended up lining up the way that I perceived them.
So you think he's an introvert, or yeah?
I think he's an introvert. And I guess if I think he has the same personality type as Katniss, then him and Peta are meant to be two opposites attract. Go either way.
We don't have the same thing at all for Gale. I think he's an ENTJ.
Okay, I'm writing that down. ENTJ. Okay, TJ, we agree. He is an introvert.
Oh yeah, TJ.
I feel like introvert was the easiest one for me to pick for him because he's so just likes his time by himself or with Katniss, and I don't really think he enjoys those other interactions. I don't think that fuels him as much as. But I guess if you're looking at Katniss, I could see he recharges by spending time with someone, but it's just one particular person.
Okay, I'm unsure now.
What was your argument?
I don't know. I didn't think about it really. I was just like, oh, he's an E, of course.
Mm-hmm. He's attractive. I just think of Gale as such a quiet human.
I'm trying to think of situations where, I mean, you don't have to be an extrovert to be a leader. I guess I'll go with the I. I totally see what you're saying.
It.
Yeah, you did. Oh,
okay.
Man. But then that ruins one of my other points.
Uh-oh, okay.
So I put Gale as an ENTJ, and that's also the exact same thing that I assigned to President Snow.
ENTJ?
Yeah.
Snow is the same as Katniss for me. I put ISTJ.
Okay, let's talk about the N versus the S then. For Gale. I don't see him as an S. I don't think he is as observant, senses situations correctly. I think he is more of a strategic thinker, which is the N. I think he goes with his gut a lot more.
I definitely agree with you. As soon as I took notes on intuitive for myself, and it was picking up on like the context of things and gut feelings. So you can change me on that one.
I think he's just like leaping into action without thinking things through.
He's hot-headed. So then we both changed one of our letters. So I guess it comes out to be
INTJ.
Yeah.
See, okay, but I don't like that I used to be an INTJ and Gale is an INTJ.
Gale Hate Club is in session right now.
I also see INTJ as just, I look up to INTJs. So for Gale to be one, I don't like that.
Their INTJs are called the mastermind.
No, I'm like, that's giving Gale way too much credit.
He was the mastermind of something.
Yeah, I guess.
Awful.
Okay, but you know what? I'm going to change Snow then, because Snow, I wasn't sure about the I or the E. And I don't think he's an extrovert either. No. And I want him to be the same thing as Gale. I want them to be the same personality type. Like, because I made this connection that like, oh, Gale and President Snow, they're the same.
That makes sense. I mean, reading Ballad, I could definitely see similarity.
It's an INTJ, actually, and I didn't even really think about Snow from the perspective of Ballad, which I have no idea why I didn't, but thinking about Ballad right now, he's definitely an INTJ.
See, I think I still hold on to that S. I don't think he's very, I guess with some of the decisions he made, like with the snakes and dropping Lucy's scent into the the container. I feel like that is kind of intuitive, but I feel like he's very strategic. I think at a younger age, he would be an INTJ. I think as President Snow, I think he's an ISTJ because talking to Katniss and the scenes we get with him and Seneca in the first movie, I feel like he's like, we need to keep things orderly. It's one by one. So I feel like it changes. I feel like young President Snow is an INTJ, but then I think he becomes an ISTJ.
So President Snow is me, is what you're saying.
Ah! You're not President Snow. He's
I hate
evil.
this.
He's evil ISTJ. See, I totally forgot yours when I was making this.
You're like describing my life.
But you're Katniss too, don't worry.
Okay, but I guess I do like the fact that Snow and Katniss are the same personality type.
Mm-hmm. I think that was something I connected
Katniss is the good version.
Exactly.
Like
they're not all
myself.
evil. I'm not saying you're evil. But yeah, I think like President Snow with the president in front of him is an ISTJ. But no disrespect.
Okay. No, I can go along with this.
And I have a lot of ISTJs, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, that's because they're the best personality type.
Exactly.
Right?
They're great. I think there's a lot of strategic people and very organized, structured people in these series. So I guess we'll
so
get to
if we were talking about President Snow, let's flip that and talk about President Coin.
I had ISTJ for Coin as well.
I had INTJ.
Let's see. Intuitive. I don't think she's intuitive at all.
I was going back and forth between ISTJ and INTJ. So
You're like, no S in there. I gotta keep mine. What made you pick the S?
I think for me, a lot of this was like comparing different characters with each other, and I would decide that one person was, oh, they're an ISTJ, but then that's the same as Katniss, and I don't think they are the same as Katniss when I look at like their decision making and everything. So then I would switch it to something else. So I guess really what we're realizing is that the N versus the S, there's a lot of gray area. That's just one that's hard to determine.
Like, because I think the way that we also did it, we talked about was a little different. Like, I just went through letter by letter and I did all the introvert extroverts one by one down the list. So I wasn't as much comparing them until towards the end. And then when I saw that I put Katniss, Snow, and Coin as the same, I guess it made sense to me as to why, despite the plot beneath them, they didn't get along in terms of how they did things, because I felt like they would probably butt heads, especially Coin and Katniss. And then you see how similar Coin and Snow are in the ways they do things.
And I think people who have similar personality types actually can butt heads a lot because they don't bounce off each other. It's like someone's like, if you, and to us ISTJs especially, it's like, no, this is my plan. No, this is my plan. And just not coming to any like sort of agreement because they're very stubborn. So I guess I see the S instead of the N for Coin because she has a lot of people around her that are doing the N and kind of like her mastermind plan. She's kind of more like practical, sensing, and then like someone like Gail is or BD is like coming up with the kind of grand ideas, and she's just more like, okay, how do we put this into action?
I guess I'm looking at my list that I gathered together, and you mentioned BT, and I put him as an ISTJ as well. So that was like my biggest same sector. Yeah, I put Katniss, Gale, BT, Snow, Coin, and then another character. I don't know if I should bring them up right now because we have two on our hands, but they were all ISTJs.
I'm pulling up the personality types.
You're like,
because I want to like look at them. What helped me a lot too was looking at the on the 16 personalities website, which is what I like. It's like a Bible for me. I would look at the strengths and weaknesses for a lot of the
Oh.
characters, and that would kind of help me determine what someone was. So I'm gonna go to
See, that's interesting.
the
I just look
INTJ.
at
Why
individual
did I pick
letters.
that for coin?
And then for BT, like, I felt like he was an ISTJ too because he's very logical.
BD is definitely not an ISTJ.
Really?
Yeah, I can fight that one.
What? Okay, I want to hear
So
what you had.
let's go to that. Hold on, because I use the like strengths and weaknesses on there.
Mhm.
INTP is what I said.
The architect. I guess, okay, yeah.
The
Yeah.
architect is INTJ.
Really?
INTP is I don't even know how to say it. Logician?
I'm lied to. This website tells me it's the architect. I'm not on like the official website.
Oh,
But then
you should go to the
disregard all the
16
names that I've been
personalities
saying
one.
besides my own. But yeah,
Well,
it
they're
says
different on
that
every website.
that's true. But it says he's a philosophical innovator, fascinated by logical analysis. So yeah, I will change that. I think for me, when I'm thinking about somebody who is very logical and analytical, it's somebody who is more of an S type. Just
Hmm.
because I'm definitely like the N does not relate to me at all.
I think the N is just it's well, yeah, but you're an N.
That's why and you're an S, so you're very like when we're working together, it's like keeping things in line, having like everything set up. Whereas me, it's more we, yay.
But I think it's having big ideas
Okay,
and being more of like an abstract thinker.
yeah,
That's not me. But that's Beatty.
yeah. I guess I could see that. I just have a hard time like comparing it to myself, which I don't think I should do, but
I know all these
yeah.
ISTJs. I've compared like everyone to myself.
Exactly. So yeah, I could see that based off of like the description it gives them as a whole.
Also, one of the weaknesses for INTP was absent-minded.
Oh yeah.
And I was
Well,
just
there we
like, oh yeah,
go.
that's Speedy. That's Speedy and Virus for sure.
Nuts and bolts. Yeah. Okay, I guess I'll go to my last ISTJ I have because I had one
Okay.
more, and it's Mr. Haymitch. I think him and Katniss are
What?
comparable. I think he's an ISTJ.
No.
And I think like old Haymitch, because I had a hard time with the piece that we know about him from the second quarter quell. I think it would be different, but I think him and Katniss are very similar, like identical humans. I think Haymitch is what Katniss would have been if Peta died and she had to keep going through things. I think that he's her in the future, but without Peta.
The only thing that we agree on is the T. I mean, obviously he's
He
a
is not
thinker.
an extrovert.
Yes, he is. He's
No, he's
totally an
not.
extrovert. Yes, he is. He's an extrovert,
No.
but he's punishing himself. He's not really meant to be isolated and like the hermit that he is. That's him punishing himself from
No.
what happened after the games. Yes, it is. I will
No.
die on this hill.
I think
He's
he's
an
very
extrovert.
I think he's so comparable to Katniss. I think because he had his sweetheart and he had his mom and his brother, those are the people that he cared about. And I think he was very similar to Katniss. And I think those were the only people that he truly wanted to interact with. And then he gets a new family, Katniss and Peta, who are his like adopted family. I call them at the end of Mockingjay. But I think he's very reclusive. And I know he's dealing with a lot and struggles so hard with PTSD. But I think that's a big reason why is he pushes himself away from the world because that's his way of like dealing with things. So I'm gonna
But
stand
that's
my
his way of
ground.
punishing himself.
I don't
No.
think I know he's punishing himself for what happened to the people he loved, but I think he's introverted. I don't think he likes the company of other people. Like I mean like introverts do like company of other people, but I think he recharges by being on his own.
See, I think he needs to recharge by having a good like social structure and social interaction, but like he doesn't do that. So that's why he's like nasty all the time.
See, I don't see that. I will stand with an
A lot of
introvert.
this
This will
is
be the one we can agree on.
obviously conjecture because we don't know that much about who Haymitch was pre-games.
I like to base pre-games Haymitch off of Mainstay Pro's video of Haymitch in the second quarter quell because I loved Haymitch. I love young Haymitch.
I know, he was so cute. I'm so sad that we didn't get a flashback to his games in Catching Fire. Like, what was that choice about?
I agree. And just knowing the brief sentence or piece of Mockingjay about the people he loved, that's why I think that he is Katniss. And I will assume, this is an assumption, but I assume that Suzanne Collins wrote him in there to reflect on what Katniss would be like in the future with if, say, her whole family was killed because she did a dumb act like the Nightlock scene and Peta died. I feel like she would have become something like him, and I will forever stand by that.
I agree with that, but I don't think that necessarily means that they're the same personality.
Yeah. See,
like, it's definitely a reflection.
I guess I would say that I had 2 listed for him. I changed it to a P, so I feel like we could. Is that what you?
Okay.
Did you have a P?
I have P.
If we can get in the middle and agree that he's an introvert, I will change my J to a P. Because
Did you say N? You said S.
ISTJ. What did you say?
ENTP. The only thing we agreed on was the T.
Oh, I thought that you had switched the J and the P. Okay, well, never mind. He's an introvert, and
Okay,
I feel like
no. I'm gonna come up with some. Let's find the ENTP on this.
You find that. I'm gonna look up Haymitch.
Okay, you find some reasonings for yours. Find some reasonings for mine.
I'm gonna find his 16 personality from the internet. The internet will tell me the truth. It's got to be out there. Okay, we're looking at the personality database. Voting breakdown. This is a breakdown of 229 4-letter votes between INTP and ISTP. And I guess he ended up being an INTP. 87% of voters said that he was an I. So he's an I.
Okay, so that would be if I just changed my extrovert theory to an introvert.
Yeah,
and it would be the personality type.
Change other things if you change it to the I, because then 82% said N, 99% said T, and then 99% said P. So I will change it. The PDP community says I don't even know what it is, but that's what he's listed as.
All right. I mean, my E is a lot of conjecture.
Wait a minute. Another site says he is ISTP. So it's introvert all around.
The TP. No.
He's not an extrovert.
No, I think he is. I think that's his true self.
No. So
I'm not going to change my mind.
People can tell us if he's an introvert or an extrovert, but this man sits in his house, and yes, he has substance abuse, like he deals with that, but
because of the games and what happened.
But he recharges because he's
I feel like he was very popular and witty and
no, he was quiet going into the games.
You know, I think he likes the ENTP, the name for that is the debater. I think he likes having discussions with people, likes being around people and talking about, you know, this is just all in my imagination.
Just thinking of Haymitch late at night as he lies
like at school, like always being the one who he likes being in the classroom.
No.
Yeah.
See, I think there's definitely a scene in Catching Fire where they're reflecting on the quarter quell and they're talking about the interviews with Haymitch. He did come off as very cunning and very charismatic. He was he was very Peta, but I think he pulled that out of the bag. I don't think that he was like that in real life. I think he did that to act a certain way, and I think it's introverted. I'm gonna pull out Catching Fire this week, and I'll come back with people and be like,
okay, we might have to revisit.
I think
okay, no. Listen to these strengths and weaknesses, okay? Strengths: knowledgeable, quick thinker, the games, quick thinker, we saw that. Original, I think he's pretty creative, like can come up with good ideas. Excellent brainstormer. I mean, he's a mentor. He does that job really well. Charismatic, we see that from his interview.
He plays charismatic. He's not actually. He plays it.
Can you play it if you aren't it? Like,
yeah. To the cameras.
But so he is charismatic.
It's time for me to get the notes out.
Okay, weaknesses. Argumentative.
Okay.
Can be insensitive. Intolerant. Can find it difficult to focus. Dislikes being practical.
Okay.
This all sounds like Haymitch.
I need to find this scene. I need to. Okay, so I'm at the part where they're playing through watching all of Haymitch's Quarter Quell, okay? The audience bursts out laughing and Haymitch gives them a half smile, snarky, arrogant, and indifferent. That reminds me so much of Katniss. Let's see.
Okay, but Katniss, keep going.
I need to plug my computer in, she says. 1 second. And then, let's see. Okay, so when they're describing his physical features, which doesn't have to do with his personality, it's just that he's young, strong, and Katniss says it's hard to admit, but he was something of a looker. And he seems dangerous in his eyes. There's a dangerous look in his eyes. I just got the feeling that with like the snarkiness and his interactions with Maisley, I think that's how you say her name. He's just more. He's very strategic, and he's not somebody who would have been very popular in school. I don't think him and Maisley got along because let's remember that Maisley was not a scene girl, and Haymitch was from the scene, and so I feel like he wasn't the type of popular person at school. I feel like to automatically be a part of that group, you had to be like not a part of the scene. I think that, and Katniss's mom wasn't a part of it, and her and Maisley were really good friends. Just like the placement of where they were standing. I know they're separated by boys and girls, but I don't think that he was an extrovert. I think he was an introvert, just the way that he comes off, and he's obviously like, you would be so pissed to go to the games, but I think that the snarkiness and like the arrogance Katniss remarks reminds me a lot of like an introverted Katniss. I don't know. And I think that he became
the INTP.
I think he became charismatic because that was how like his, I don't even know who his trainer would have been. It wasn't Lucy. Whoever it was had told him to be and told him to play that persona. And then that's why he acts that way following the games, because he broke the Capitol's rules of using the force field. I don't know. He's an introvert.
Okay, but I put Beatty as an INTP.
They could be the same.
But think about, I don't know, Haymitch's personality and Beatty's. I feel like Haymitch is more of the extroverted version and Beatty's the introvert.
I feel like so for me as an introvert, there are only a few people that I want to go out of my way to talk to and spend time with outside of like my close family, because I just don't recharge that way. I recharge a lot more with my own time. So off of work, I'm like, I want my own time. I think he has all the time in the world, and he could choose. He makes a family with Katniss and Peta. I feel like those are his closest friends.
Yeah,
and he
they hang
still
out.
doesn't, not a lot though, just enough. And I feel like that's how I am with my friends. My really close friends, I'll hang out with you just enough because I need alone time. And I know that he's dealing with PTSD and everything, but he's such an introvert, it hurts me.
This is one of those characters that I'm just like, in a perfect world, I think he's an extrovert. I think it's just all of the other influences, like the drinking and like what happened to him after the games, that he's not living his best extroverted life.
No, even if he was, I think I think the only things that would make him happy, say he wasn't pulled for the games ever, I think it would just be being with his girlfriend at the time and being with his mother and his brother, and I think just having that relationship with the close people around him. I don't really think he would have felt a need to be like out and about and having fun. I don't know
All
if we'll
right.
ever agree.
I'll think about it.
Debate. Come back to me in a few days. Next week we'll talk.
In a few days.
Maybe we'll never agree, but that's okay. We have different perceptions of Haymitch.
I bet we put the same thing for Effie.
What did
I
you
was
put?
pretty sure. ESFJ.
So different.
What? Okay,
Wait,
well,
you said ES?
I know Effie, so
Yeah, I will give you that. I don't love her character as much. You said ESFJ, right?
ESFJ. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I guess we did get 2 of the letters. I switched the N. I put ENTJ. But I'm open to changing it.
Well, okay.
Because I think that the Effie we see in the movie is definitely someone with more like making decisions based on feelings, like giving them all the matching like gear because
You know what? I think I did this more based on the movies for Effie only because I love movie Effie so much.
Yes, so much better than the book Effie. So
I'm open to changes.
So I just felt like in the movies, if we're looking at the movies instead of the books, her character is much more, it becomes caring. At first I feel like she could be more closed down, but then because she's just there to do her job and get a better role in the games. But I feel like when she becomes attached to Katniss and Peta and Haymitch, then that makes her decision making differ a lot more than it would have if things had ended differently.
I don't think the F is necessarily like caring, though. I think it's just being emotionally expressive.
Which she
and
is,
I feel like, yeah. So I guess that's why I went with the F.
Yeah. I guess I would be looking at the T as more pre-victory for Katniss and Peta. She's just there to get her job over with and focused on being objective and getting things done. But I think once her relationship formed with Katniss and Peta, which is a majority of the series, I would agree with you that it would be more of an F, so we can change that.
That could also be like just how Katniss perceives her as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much like her actually changing, but as Katniss like gets to know her.
But then again, like when Effie is first introduced, she's just there to get a better district. But then she becomes attached to Katniss and Peta during the Quell.
Which means she has those feelings.
Yeah, so I guess I would change the F. I feel like she didn't. I guess I see where you're coming from about Katniss not seeing it, but I guess from the perspective in the Hunger Games, it would be a T, and then when she becomes attached to them, and from Katniss's perspective, it would shift into an F.
I think for the S versus N, because you put N, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she, as an escort, is very detailed and meticulous.
I will agree with that.
She has to be like very punctual. I mean, she's in charge of like the schedule and organized. So that's why it's not so much like sensing other people, but just being aware of like what her job is and being very like dutiful and responsible.
I will agree with that. I do agree with yours a lot more. I'm not that close with her character as much as you are, so I feel like your analysis definitely makes a lot more sense. So I will submit and say that it is ESFJ.
Okay.
You changed my
mind.
Okay, then for Cinna.
Haymitch, we already went over all that.
He's an introvert. But Cinna, which I'm pretty clear in terms of like looking up the name of him and what the characteristics were. I put him as an ISFP.
Oh no!
No!
I had 2 and neither of those matched. I was hoping that one of them. Okay, so you had ISFP.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I had
He's an introvert too.
He's definitely an introvert.
Okay, good.
100%.
I was like, we're not having this argument.
He's
No.
going out to the parties and I had him as an INFJ or an INFP. So it was
I
the
like
P or
that.
the J for me.
Okay. I put S because he's so I had a hard time between the S and the N because he is very intuitive and that's how he does a lot of his reasoning. But I think that the way that he puts himself into his work is very much so an S personality because he has an idea of what it should be. And I think him and Portia work together, but I think that he definitely was the one saying with all the ideas, especially going down to even her Mockingjay suit and having all the notes and everything set up very meticulously. So I think that in his work and how Katniss sees him, which is mostly with his work, is more of a sensing personality.
Yeah, but he could have like interns doing like all that meticulous stuff, right?
But I guess so, but I feel like he would be the one telling them like, I want it exactly as it goes like this.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I feel like that's more just the talent that he has happens to be something that's very detailed, but he's the mastermind. Like he knows exactly what he's doing and why he's doing it. It's more like just a means to an end. And he's working towards that like greater end goal of like, the big picture.
But I feel like he does the details he does his part of the details because like the big picture is obviously too big for just one person. I think he does his small role in getting everything together perfectly. Like every single outfit she wore, like he didn't even know that she was going to be the face of the rebellion, and yet he started her out in the tribute outfit that she had and then made her into the person that the Capitol would see her as, which obviously the rebels weren't planning on, but I just definitely see him as more of like an S personality.
Wow. Okay, I have to remember why I was going back and forth between J and P because of the two that I picked, I was pretty sure an N. Although I can see what you're saying on the N versus S. We fight about that a lot. Like the N and the S.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's because like for both of us, like I'm an N, you're an S. So I think that we have like a perception of them in different ways.
That's true. Yeah, we know the different types. Like I know the STJ like pretty well. You know the NFP. The J versus P for me, I guess it was like how they make decisions. And so I just like wasn't I feel like we just don't know enough about Cinna. And so I just really wasn't sure. The J is being more like structured, like decisive, really organized, more like structure and predictability. And the P is more kind of like go with the flow, seeking, taking opportunities when you see
he
them.
does take opportunities.
Yeah, so I feel like the P. I think I put him as the P was my first choice.
Okay, so then we agree on the FPI.
Just the N versus the S. See, okay, if I'm just looking at the definitions, sensing individuals are observant, practical, pragmatic, down to earth. They tend to focus on, this is a big thing too for S versus N. They tend to, their past experiences inform their future a lot of the time, like their decision making. Whereas
for the S?
For the S.
Okay.
Whereas the N's are very imaginative, open-minded, curious. They prefer novelty over stability. I feel like that's very Cinna. Like he always is going after like something new. And focus on hidden meanings and future possibilities. I just feel like that's so Cinna.
I feel like it's any fashion designer or any stylist in the Capitol. But I feel like
all be N's then.
I feel like for him, he's a little S in there because he has a greater plan and it's very like, here's how I'll get, like, it's putting together the plan. step by step by step, which he does because he has everything ready to go every single time.
I can see that. I can see that too. Yeah, I think I'm up in the air on the S versus N then. I'm throwing out the ones that I had chosen. I definitely think P, but maybe he's towing the line. He's so skilled.
Okay.
He has them both.
A website for Cinna says he's an ISFP. The first website that comes up, which is a Tumblr about the Hunger Games. They say
super
that
reliable source.
I mean Tumblr. It's Tumblr, man. I definitely I feel like I will always lean a little bit more to an S for him.
Okay. I mean, I'm not married to the N, so
okay.
I'll change
A happy
sides.
medium. There, you got me for Effie, and then I got you for Cinna, so it worked out. Here's one that I'm really interested in. Finnick. What did you put? I had 2.
I had 2 also.
And first, I'm going to disclaim I had a really, really, really hard time doing his. He was the last one I did. And I had a hard time picking between I and E at first, but I decided on E.
He's definitely an E.
Yeah. Okay, but
like
what was
he
yours?
thrives off of the social interaction and like.
But then I feel like it gets
off of other
tainted for
people.
him.
It does.
It's
like
true.
Finnick was very hard because sometimes it's hard to tell too. Like we were already discussing Haymitch and whether he was being sincere or just like playing it off for the cameras, and I feel like that way for Finnick as well. Like I don't know who, like at his true self, who is the real Finnick.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I had ESFJ.
ESF. Okay, at first I had ENFP, and then I had ESFP. So I feel like we could go for ESFP, but here's what I thought was.
So I also
was,
my second was ENFJ. So that's closer because you had
married
ENFP.
to the J. I had ENFP at first, and then ESFJ or ESFP. So then when I finished my notes and went through them all, he had the same personality type I put down for Peta, which I could definitely see.
Okay, so I put ESFJ first, but it's the same personality type as Effie.
No.
So I was like, I have to come up with something else. So then the ENFJ, but that's closer to one of yours with ENFP.
Yeah. So I picked
Which is Peta,
P. Yeah, I picked the P because he does perceive a lot more of what situations. I think he's been through so much in his life that he is somebody who, I'm trying to pull up my notes, fits into more of what I understand as the P personality type, if that makes sense.
Yeah, looking at this now, I'm actually going to go with P.
Okay.
I don't know why I said J at all. Like structure, decisiveness, organization. That's not Finnick.
Yeah.
He's much more
he's
spontaneous.
an ENFP.
Yeah. So he's the same thing as Peta. Interesting. That just makes me laugh about you asking earlier if I wanted to be allies with Peta or Finnick.
They're both so
because they're the same.
Exactly. It's just, who do you prefer?
I still pick Finnick.
Also, I was gonna make a note that I said I had a lot of ISTJs, but the second most popular one I had was the ENFP category. So I had Peta, Finnick, and then 3 more characters that we haven't talked about.
My most popular one that I picked is ISFJ. It's those like really quiet, good-natured souls. All the ISFJs. So I had, well, it was a secondary one for Katniss, but she was really more of an ISTJ. Prim, I had as ISFJ. Madge, I had as ISFJ. And we haven't talked about it yet, but also Sejanus and Tigress. I think they'd all be really good friends.
I thought Sejanus would be one of those ENFPs. That's what I put him down as.
Okay, so you think he's the same as Peta?
I think him and Peta and Finnick are very similar characters.
See, that's what, like, I would compare these, and I don't think Sejanus is an extrovert.
I think he is. I think he was the only good part of Ballad for me. And we'll talk about it obviously some other day. But I think that he was I just envisioned him as a Peta-like character, and so I think I based him off of like enjoying people. He was somebody who like he went into the arena, he helped people. I don't know.
I just feel like more relatableness, like kinship with Sejanus than I did with Peta.
Yeah.
Peta is more like of a communicator. He likes being around people more. I think Sejanus is that type of person, similarly to myself, where it's you just have that one close friend, like and put your loyalty and like trust in that one person, which was Snow.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I don't know the Ballad characters as well as the original trilogy characters because I've only read the book one time. So
I think it's funny
it might be
too,
something to revisit.
Did you say ISFJ?
I said ISFJ or ISFP. So I was going back and forth between the J and the P.
We were opposites for him then on that besides the F. But I definitely agree with you. Maybe when we do our like Ballad read through again, we can discuss it more.
He's definitely an F. That's like not debatable,
100%.
I don't think.
100%. Yeah, we'll come back to that one. And then Tigress, you said, was the same as him?
She reminded me a lot of Prim.
Really? I'm trying to see what we agreed upon for Prim, ISFJ, and ESFP. I had Tigress down as an INTJ or an INFJ. But then again, I don't really know too much about her.
I don't think she's an INTJ. I think that's more like an INTJ is like an Albert Einstein kind of.
Yeah, which she's not.
Personality. So I don't think she's an INTJ. What was the other one?
INFJ.
Okay, so that would be the same as my ISFJ, except I have an S and you have an N. It always comes down to those two letters.
I just picked N because of her relationship with Snow. I think that we just got to see a more intuitive side with her, how in her work, I mean, like who she becomes. I feel like she doesn't want the stable lifestyle that the capital has. I don't know. I just put intuition because that was the vibe I got from her.
I think, I mean, I was thinking about Ballad a lot because obviously that's where we get way more into Tigress. And I think she was very practical, down to earth. She's the one who's, getting things done that need to get done while Snow's off doing his mastermind plans. Just like running the house, making sure everything is staying together. She's dutiful, doing what needs to be done. I think even more so than Snow, caring about her family. So that's kind of why I went with the S.
I can see that. I wasn't really married to mine either, so I could definitely change that. She was probably the character I knew the least, to be honest with you. I'm trying to think. So we did Sejanus. Oh, Lucy. What did you have for Lucy?
I have an ESFP, and I think I am 100% on that.
I have an ENFP. So N and S again. I have ENFP. I think that the type of character that she is, she's just I think she's an intuitive person. That was something that I was pretty sure about. I felt like she was less a sensing person. I think that she's just imaginative, open-minded, and curious. Like, I feel like that perfectly describes who she is.
Yeah, I might have had INFP before and then switched it to, or sorry, not I, ESF. Oh my gosh, letters. It's just like, I might have had ENFP before and then kind of read some of the like strengths and weaknesses and descriptions and then changed it to ESFP just because I overall thought that matched better.
Mm-hmm.
But I can totally see the N.
Yeah, that was just like who she was as a character was very just
So
Lucy.
the ESFP on the 16 personalities site is the entertainer. And I think that might
Yeah,
have
swayed your decision making.
it a lot for me.
I guess like I just looking at the letters individually, I would put her as an N, but like looking at that title overall, she would definitely be like more so the entertainer.
Because the strengths were bold, original, aesthetics and showmanship, observant, good people
Mm-hmm.
skills. So I thought that was very Lucy.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
Let me look at the N though. This one is the campaigner. So the strengths here: curious, observant, energetic and enthusiastic, excellent communicators, know how to relax, popular and friendly. So I
I feel
think
like
they're
she's both.
they're very similar.
I feel like excuse me, she fits into the entertainer role, but then at the same time, I think those the N describes her more in the games, and the S describes her more outside of the games, like pre and post games.
Yeah, I can see that.
But then
Curious.
she was very like intuitive with her interactions with Snow at the end.
I think I'm going to agree with you that it's ENFP because I'm looking at the weaknesses too, and I think the weaknesses are more accurate for ENFP for Lucy.
That means her and Peta are just perfect. I feel like Lucy and Peta would have been best friends if they lived in the same timeline.
Oh,
I know. I think that would have been like the most wholesome friendship ever.
okay. So we agree on Lucy.
Perfect. And then I also had one last ENFP, and that's Madge.
Really, I put her as my most popular ISFJ.
I feel like I would be open to the introvert argument, but for me, I feel like I'm open to it. I feel like maybe I would be swayed towards it because she could have been popular. She was the mayor's daughter, but she chose to spend her time with Katniss and Gale as much as she could or be by herself. So
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm open to changing on Madge as well. I think she was one of the hardest because we just see the least from her. So
I used to have a Gale
I
and
really
Madge
just made that one
fanfic.
up.
So I just base it off of what I assumed she would be like.
It's so funny because you said you used to ship them, and that like unlocked a memory for me. Like not a specific memory, but just like, oh yeah, that used to be a thing before Madge totally disappeared.
Yeah. I think if she was in the movie, I think I think that they would have carried on like Gale living with Madge or something at the end if she was alive. And I feel like they would have kept her alive because movies are like that and they want Gale to be happy, but Gale shouldn't be happy. So I'm thinking about pre-Mockingjay Gale, man.
Gale Hate Club.
Gale Hate Club.
Get your membership.
Subscribe to our Patreon, Gale Hate Club, please. But the F is clear. N and J or N and P are mine. Yours are S and J. But yeah, we don't really know a lot of her.
We just don't know enough about decisions that she's made.
Yeah.
In order to come up with something.
But I will agree she is an introvert from what we know, based off of who she picks. Yeah. She seemed very reserved in the books. But yeah,
we need a Madge book.
Yes, we do need a Madge book, and we need Madge to survive. You brought up a good point that for some reason I didn't even think of is the fact that Gale didn't even attempt to save that woman from the bombing. I never thought about that. That's why I shipped them. I thought they were cute. And then before this call, you're like, well, Gail was the reason why she didn't get out. Gail ruins everything.
And Gale
Gale
was
Hate
mean
Club.
to her. Like,
True.
he hated, he really resented like what she represented more so than like hitting her specifically. But
Yeah, but get to know her like Katniss did, please.
Gale
Like,
sucks.
Gail sucks. Amen. Send us your best edit of a Gale hate, and it'll be our new logo. Actually, we're changing the whole name to Gale Hate Club Podcast. Surprise. But yeah, we'll have that'll be our segment every episode. Is we talk about how much we hate Gail. We bring up a new reason.
They are
Next week it's
infinite.
Madge. Oh my gosh. Okay, we had one last one left, and that's Johanna. And I don't know how you pronounce her name. I say Johanna. Johanna. I think I'll say different.
Johanna.
Insert Finnick screaming to her on the beach.
I was telling Holly, that's what I have to think of every time. It's like, Johanna.
So funny. But I mentioned it last week, but I haven't read Mockingjay in over 5 years. I like to reread the first two, but I don't like to reread Mockingjay. And so I completely forgot about her existence in Mockingjay outside of what they gave us in the movies. And so I had a fun time putting together this one because I know her
a lot,
differently.
yeah. It doesn't even make it into the movies. Like her whole training with Katniss.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. She's a much bigger character, I feel like, than is represented in the movies.
Agreed. But what did you get for her?
ESTP.
I said, okay, we're close. I said ISTP. I think she's an introvert.
Okay.
Perfect. There we go. ISTP. Well, that was the easiest one we've had so far. Wow. Okay.
I don't know why I put E, actually. Thinking about it now, I guess a lot of these I was just like, oh, in an ideal world, maybe she would be an extrovert, but no, she doesn't like being around people. Yeah, she's an I. It must have been comparing it with someone else is why I went with the E. I just didn't like when certain characters were the same or certain characters were too different. It bugs me.
I didn't like when I put mine down, Katniss, Gale, Haymitch, BT, Snow, and Coin all being the same ones. But I loved Peta, Madge, Lucy, Sejanus, and Finnick being the same ones because they're all like happy people and I love them. But Coin and Snow and Katniss and Gale, no. So I feel like we agreed that Katniss was an ISTJ. Peta is an ENFP. Prim was between, I put ESFP and then you put ISFJ, but I think that's what we agreed on was the ISFJ. Actually, we didn't agree on Prim because of the extrovert introvert thing, but
I think she's one of those people that can kind of go back and forth depending on like her surroundings. Like she can easily mix into whoever she's with.
Mm-hmm. And then Gail,
I think I went back to INTJ. So I think we agreed that he was INTJ.
Effie, we agreed on ESFJ. And then Haymitch, we went to, it was between I and ESTJ, right? That we, or STP,
NTP.
STP. NTP. We didn't even, Haymitch is one we will never agree on.
we can't circle back to Haymitch.
No. And then Cinna was between IFP, and then we couldn't decide between S and N, but I feel like we're kind of leaning toward S. I don't know. Just me. Just biased,
like
Holly.
I'm leaning towards N, Holly.
And then Madge, I had as an ENFP, but again, you had an ISFJ just because we don't really know her too much, so I'm fine not agreeing.
Undecided.
Yeah. Finnick, classic ENFP with my boy Peta. Same with Sejanus, except we said we'd circle back to Sejanus and Tigress, I feel like. Lucy is an ENFP. Coin was, I put ISTJ. I forget if you agreed with me or not.
Yeah, I think we decided that Katniss and Coin were the same.
Johanna is an ISTP. BT was an INTP, and then Snow ended up being
ISTJ and INTJ when he was younger.
okay, INTJ.
He's me.
Okay, cool.
The evil version of myself. The
Oh, yeah.
Slytherin version of Emily is President Snow.
No. Yeah.
I
Oh,
love that.
wow. Look at us go through all these characters. And we'll circle back once we do our read through Ballad, and we get to know them more, because I've only read Ballad once, so Janus was the only good character. I guess Lucy's, I don't know.
Yeah, we should definitely revisit this. Like, not only the Ballad characters, but as we kind of get more into, like, maybe after like character episodes or something.
Then we can decide. We'll come back to Haymitch too.
After we do a
And he will
thorough
be an introvert.
analysis. I can't wait for the Haymitch episode.
He will be an introvert, and people who listen to this will agree with the introvert aspect. I will bet money on it. Okay, but do you have anything else to add to the personality test conclusion?
I don't think so. This was super fun. I feel like to go
know.
through and think about. I was really worried that we would have all the same answers, but like even myself, I couldn't decide for some of the characters. So it's just really interesting.
Next week we have a really fun episode that we're looking forward to.
Speaking
Next
of
week,
Madge.
I know. Speaking of Madge, like, drum roll, please, let's bring her back. We are going to be looking at characters who did not make the movie, but we wish did make the movie. We'll go through and revisit Madge, Bonnie and Twill, Darius, a bunch of other characters. We'll be discussing who we would have wanted to see, like who would actually have added to the plot and the story.
How vital it was that they weren't in the films.
Exactly. So yeah, hopefully you guys will all join us in for next week's episode. But again, we've set up all our social medias on Instagram and TikTok at Into the Arena Podcast. And if you're only listening to the podcast right now, you can find it on YouTube at Into the Arena Podcast. And if you're watching it, you can also listen to it on Spotify and I believe Apple Music at Into the Arena Podcast. Thanks, guys. We will see you again next week for our fun episode.